Yo, what's up guys? So today we are gonna see, what if Naruto went back in time and finds himself as a legendary sannin Naruto X Tsunade movie. Hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, go check out the author of this fanfic, Rasengan86, link is in the description, and also subscribe to my channel, and like this video. Let's begin the video. As Uzumaki Naruto was on his way back to Konoha, he felt the ground beneath him begin to quake. The quakes became more violent until fissures were formed in the earth. Off in the distance he felt an explosion of foul, malevolent chakra. Being a Naruto was easily able to identify the feel of demonic chakra. I take it you can feel the brat. A voice came from inside Naruto's head. I doubt there is anyone in the elemental countries that can't. Kyuubi, what the hell is going on here? Asked Naruto. Kyuubi replied with simply one word, Akatsuki. What? What you are feeling, brat, is the chakra of all of the excluding myself being released at on pleaded the Kyuubi in a somber tone. Shit, well I've got to get back to Konoha and see what Bachan wants to do. It doesn't matter kid, said the Kyuubi, interrupting his container, seeing as the world will be destroyed. What the hell are you talking about, Kyuubi? Shouted Naruto inside his head. As if in response to Naruto's question, the quakes became even more violent than they had been minutes before. Forests were destroyed, villages burned, and mountains crumbled to the ground. Somehow the Akatsuki captured were released. Demonic chakra is far more potent than your pitiful human variety, as you well know. Your world cannot handle such an amount of demonic chakra being released all at once. And, as such, this world has begun tearing itself apart. Naruto fell to his knees after hearing this. The information hit him with more force than any of Tsunade's punches. Everyone was going to die, himself included. It didn't even occur to him to see if the Kyuubi had been lying. Somehow, deep down, he knew the great fox demon was telling the truth. Iruka-sensei, Aim, Ichiraku Ajisan, Kakashi-sensei, Yamato-sensei, Kurenai-sensei, Gai-sensei, Lee, Kiba, Shino, Chaoji, Nichi, Ino, Shikamaru, Tenten, Anko-san, Tamari, Gaara, Hanabi, Sai, Bachan, Iro-senin, Sakura-chan, and Hinata-chan. As his thoughts rested on his girlfriend, his heart felt like it would rip in two when he thought about her dying. They say when you're about to die you see your life flash before your eyes. Well, Naruto flashed back to the events that led to him and Hinata getting together. Just over 1 year ago, Team 7 had their final reunion with their long-lost teammate, and it was an encounter that Uchiha Sasuke did not survive. A small group of Konoha ninja had launched an assault on a compound of the snake sannin Arachimaru. While Jiraiya, Tsunade, Kakashi, and Yamato dealt with Arachimaru, Kabuto, Naruto, and Sakura were left to deal with Sasuke. He was furious when Naruto told him that he had already killed Itachi, and that Arachimaru kept it from him. Sasuke retaliated by running his Kyusanagi grass cutter through the one person that loved him more than life itself, Haruno Sakura. Luckily the wound wasn't fatal, and Sai was able to deal with the wound. However, the fact that Sasuke had tried to kill Sakura sent Naruto over the edge, and he finally went all out and threw their friendship out the window. And when everything is said and done, Futon. Rascngan wind, release. Spiraling sphere, is infinitely more powerful THANCHIDORI thousand birds. So it was that Naruto had finished what Itachi had started. The Uchiha clan was wiped off the earth forever. Afterwards Sakura quit as a shinobi and fell into a deep depression. She shut herself off from everybody for 3 whole months. Naruto assumed that Sakura hated him for killing Sasuke and began to fall into depression himself. But throughout all the aftermath of Sasuke's death, Hinata was there for him. Within a few weeks Naruto came to terms with what happened and was back to his usual self. Hinata and Naruto continued to spend lots of time together, and a month later Naruto fulfilled one of Hinata's greatest desires. Hinata got her first kiss from Naruto. And aside from the protests of the Hyuga elders, who were quickly dealt with by Tsunade, it had been smooth sailing ever since. Tears started to form in Naruto's eyes, but sadness was quickly replaced with unbridled fury towards those responsible for the founding of Akatsuki, Konan, Pain, and Uchiha Madara. But there were other things to deal with at the moment, so he quickly pushed those thoughts out of his head. He then asked Kyuubi probably the most important question of his life. Hey Kyuubi, is there anything we could do to fix this? Kyuubi was silent for a moment, and Naruto waited for its answer rather than yell and scream, as he was known for. Well brat, there is something we could try. But it is incredibly dangerous, and will most likely result in both our deaths. As if sensing what Naruto was about to ask, Kyuubi answered before Naruto could even ask the question. Time travel. Baka Fox, everybody knows that time travel is impossible. Claimed Naruto angrily. It is impossible for you humans, and yet that hasn't stopped you from trying for generations, said the Kyuubi with disdain. However, there is a demonic technique that allows travel through time. The problem however lies in the fact that you are not a demon, and there is not enough time to properly prepare the technique. So what does that mean then? Well, even if you were a mere human, knowing you would prove to be no problem. However, the technique entails a complicated set of seals drawn on the ground in concentric circles, which we don't have time to do properly. Basically, since the seals will be incomplete, we will probably both die. Said the Kyuubi seriously. Well, you know me, Kyuubi, said Naruto to his tenant. I've been defying the odds all my life, let's do it. Inside his cage, the Kyuubi began carving out a series of seals with his claws. But time was of the essence, and many of the seal circles were improperly aligned, while others were left incomplete. I sure hope this works because I have no intentions of passing to the afterlife with this. Within minutes, the Kyuubi had drawn in all the seals he thought he had time for. Naruto notes that the sky had turned blood red, and the severity of the earthquakes continued to increase. He also noted a faint orange glow coming from the direction of Konoha. Alright Brad, we're as ready as we're gonna be. So first I'm going to pour my chakra into the seals to activate them. Then I am going to force out as much of my chakra as I can through the seal to hopefully create a tear in time. Hopefully this will work, and we won't end up dead. Well, let's get this show on the road then, said Naruto. One thing before I start, since the seals are incomplete, I have no idea where we will end up in the past if this works. Oh, and this will hurt worse than anything you have ever experienced. Naruto was about to respond to the Kyuubi when suddenly he felt the Kyuubi release more of its chakra than ever before. And true to his word, Naruto found himself in more pain than he ever thought humanly possible. It felt like his entire body was burning from the inside out. Demonic chakra seemed to just spring forth from Naruto and erupt into the sky. Naruto was in so much pain that he just wanted it all to end. Suddenly he noticed something odd in front of him. It looked like the space in front of him was beginning to tear. Slowly, but surely the tear began to get wider and wider until it was about 3 times as tall as Naruto. Inside the tear there was a swirling mass of multicolored energy. Just hang on for a few more seconds, kid, almost done. Suddenly the energy expanded outward and completely enveloped Naruto. He felt himself being pulled forward into the tear, and then everything went blank. Inside Naruto's mindscape, the unconscious form of Kazama Uzumaki Naruto was face down in front of Kyuubi's cage. Slowly he began to stir and push himself up to a sitting position. Now that you are awake, Brad, welcome to the past, said the Kyuubi. What do you mean it actually worked? We're not dead? Naruto asked Kyuubi eagerly. No Brad, we are not dead, replied Kyuubi while snickering. However, there are a few complications. First off, we are much farther back than we should be, decades before you were born. I am not certain exactly how far. But luckily we are only a mile or 2 from Konoha, so it won't be too hard to find out. After spending 17 years with the Kyuubi, Naruto could say that he knew the fox pretty well. Years of deception and plots to gain freedom had granted Naruto unique insight to the demon. So he knew there was something the Kyuubi wasn't telling him. Well, at least I'm alive. I'll deal with the other stuff when I make it to Konoha. So how about you tell me whatever it is you're trying to keep from me? Kyuubi bared his fangs in what could be considered a sly grin. Indeed, he found it increasingly more difficult to keep things from his vessel over the years. You're not as dumb as you look anymore, Brad. It seems that somehow the time travel process has separated us. I am finally free from you. The look of pure terror washed over Naruto as he began to consider the implications of what this could mean. Although the two had gotten along better in recent years, Naruto knew that the Kyuubi would still devour him and probably destroy Konoha if given the chance. Ah, the beautiful stench of fear. You don't know how long I've waited to see you fear me, Brad. But lucky for you, I won't be sticking around to devour you. What the hell do you mean? Asked Naruto. From the first day I met you, it's been one day I will free myself from this prison and devour you, blah blah blah. Indeed, normally I would seriously consider devouring you, but there is no need for that. I can feel my soul gradually leaving your body and merging with my own body at this time. After the process is complete, it seems I will be returning to Demon World. So I suppose you and your village lucked out, stated the Kyuubi simply. Realization slowly washed over Naruto's face. So you mean? Yes, you won't have to worry about me stopping by the day you are born, as I will be leaving this world permanently. Just don't ask me how a doorway to my world is opening or why we're being separated. I couldn't begin to tell you. I don't believe it. I'm gonna be normal. Nobody calling me Demon Brat, no Akatsuki coming after me. I'll just be Naruto, plain and simple. So, as you know, over time our chakras have been merging, and, as such, the healing properties I have granted you over the years will remain once I am gone. And, as you know, due to this you will live longer and age slower than most humans. But I wanted to leave you with one more parting gift, so to speak. Suddenly Kyuubi's claws shot out from between the bars, and one impaled Naruto right through the seal. Suddenly a spiraling column of demonic chakra erupted from Naruto's body. Once again Naruto felt like he was on fire. But he noticed that the chakra slowly went from being red to a purple color, and then it began to turn blue and be absorbed into his body. Again Naruto lost consciousness due to the pain. Gradually, the Kyuubi began to fade from sight. Well, Brad, it's been pretty interesting. Don't take this the wrong way, but I hope we never meet again, as long as we live. Said the Kyuubi before him, along with the cage that had once contained him faded completely. When Naruto regained consciousness, he found himself in a bed staring at a white ceiling. Damn it, I would recognize the Konoha hospital, no matter what time I'm in. Naruto thought to himself while groaning slightly. Well, young man, I see that you have finally woken up. Spoke a voice that Naruto found vaguely familiar. Slowly Naruto sat up in his bed, and turned towards the door to his room to see who it was that had spoken to him. When he finally saw who it was, his eyes went wide with shock. Granted, he was much younger than he was in Naruto's time, but he could recognize this person anywhere. Oji-san, is it you? Asked Naruto weakly. Standing in the doorway of Naruto's hospital room was indeed Sarutobi. But going from what Naruto remembered from history lessons, the Sarutobi before him was in his prime. Naruto heard someone chuckle from behind Sarutobi before speaking. Well, Sir, this boy's lack of respect aside, he seems to recognize you. As Sarutobi stepped aside, Naruto's eyes went even wider, if that was possible, as a figure stepped into the room that Naruto had only seen pictures of. In front of him was the man who had helped his older brother establish Konohagakure no Sato, the village hidden in the leaves. Standing in front of Naruto was the nickname Hokage. Holy shit. That was the only thought going through Naruto's head, as he looked right at a young Sarutobi, and the nickname Hokage. When Kyuubi said there was no telling how far back he might end up, this was definitely not what he had in mind. That line of thought led Naruto to notice that his mind felt a bit less crowded than usual. Wait a minute, where the hell is Kyuubi? For someone so used to having another presence inside of his head, the inability to contact the Kyuubi alarmed him for a moment. Then he remembered the Kyuubi telling him that should the technique be successful, they would be forever separated. The voice of the nickname, however, pulled Naruto from his thoughts. Well, I'm glad to see you are up and about. Naruto couldn't help but hesitate briefly when Nidaime asked for his name. Crap, what am I gonna do? I can't take the name Uzumaki because Uzunokuni, Whirlpool Country, and my mother's family are still around at this time. But I can't call myself Namikaze Naruto, because when Yoro-sennin takes his team, people might see him and think I'm my own father. So Naruto did what he always does in situations like this. He did what he does best. He acted on instinct and made something up. Naruto, Kazama Naruto, replied the blonde. Well, allow me to introduce myself. I am Nidaime Hokage, the leader of Konohagakure no Sato, village hidden in the leaves, and this is my former student Sarutobi. Now that you're awake, Naruto, I hope you are well enough to tell us a few things about you. Naruto nodded, and Nidaime took this as a sign to continue. You see, a strange flash of light was reported early this morning near the training grounds. This light was followed by a massive surge of chakra, and then you were found by Sarutobi, where the chakra surge was reported. And he found you with these. Nidaime held out his hand, and showed Naruto the necklace Tsunade had given to him, as well as the remains of his hit eyelight. Naruto was at a loss. He had just assumed he would end up at some point in his past, not decades before even his father was born. I always assumed that I would have to explain a few things to Oji-san. He would know I was lying, but would still trust me anyway. He was at a crossroads. He could either tell the truth about what had happened and be declared insane, or he could lie. Tough decision. I came from a small village near the borders of Fire Country. I came to Konoha in hopes of becoming a shinobi, said Naruto, hoping the two men would just accept what he was telling them. Did you now? Said Nidaime while smiling. Well, I will assume you have had previous training then. However, you will still have to be tested. You will be released from the hospital today, and an aspiring shinobi will need some equipment. At this, Sarutobi tossed Naruto a small pouch that was filled with money along with a scroll with an address. That scroll is the address of the hotel you will be staying at for now. Use the money to buy some clothes and equipment, then meet me at Training Ground 13 in 3 hours. As Naruto walked through the streets of Konoha, it was becoming clearer and clearer that this was not his Konoha. Nobody was looking at him like it was a crime simply for him to be breathing. Some shop owners were even greeting him as he walked down the street. He was simply a newcomer to the village. The biggest reminder that he was no longer in his time was when he walked to Ichiraku Ramen out of habit, only to discover that it wasn't there. He remembered that Tekui was younger than the Sandaime in his time, which would make him even younger than Naruto was right now. Ichiraku Ramen won't exist for decades, thought Naruto to himself, as tears welled up in his eyes. After observing a moment of silence for the loss of Ichiraku Ramen, Naruto decided to eat at a BBQ place, before going to buy some clothes and supplies. Finishing his lunch, Naruto entered a shinobi supply store. But he was a bit unsure what to buy, as far as clothing. He was no longer a chunin, so the traditional Konoha shinobi outfit he wore in the future was out. But he had finally realized that orange was not an appropriate color for a shinobi, so going back to one of his 2 orange jumpsuits was also out. He finally decided on black shinobi sandals, along with standard black shinobi pants with ankle wrappings. And the outfit was completed with a form-fitting mesh undershirt, and a black eye with silver along the lapels and collar. As with everything Naruto wore, he had a red spiral sewn on the back of his guy. After ordering a few extra copies of his outfit, he also bought a fully stocked supply pouch, 2 sets of kunai, and shuriken with holsters, exploding tags, as well as a small kanji brush, as well as ink and blank scrolls. Confident he had everything he would need, Naruto paid for his purchases. As he was about to leave, a set of weight bands caught his eye. He used the last of the money he had to purchase the weights, before deciding to find his hotel room. Once Naruto found his hotel room, he proceeded to get ready to meet Sarutobi later. As he finished getting ready, he put the rest of his purchases away, before realizing he was already 10 minutes late. Suddenly a brief memory of a certain gray-haired sensei flashed through his mind, and he smirked. Maybe I'll try it just once. Just to see why Kakashi-sensei enjoyed doing it so much. 30 minutes later. Where in the world could he be? This was the thought going through Sarutobi's mind, as he continued to wait for Naruto, who was already 40 minutes late. What kind of aspiring shinobi would be late to their own Genin exam? He was pulled from these thoughts, as a certain blonde finally arrived at the training ground. Yo? Naruto, where have you been? Asked Sarutobi in a somewhat annoyed tone. You are 40 minutes late. Sorry about that, I got lost on the road of life. Said Naruto, perfectly mimicking the trademark excuse of his former rather future sensei. The man who would become the Sannin Hokage sweat dropped upon hearing Naruto's ridiculous excuse for his lateness. Well, now that he's here, Saru, I guess we can get started. Said an amused Sannin Hokage, as he emerged from the forest. So the two shinobi took Naruto through the various portions of the Genin exam. They were quite impressed. With the exception of his above-average ranking, he performed exceptionally in all other areas. Had he been at the academy, he might have beat out Arachimaru for Rookie of the Year. Thought Sarutobi to himself. All that was left now was the ninjutsu exam. Alright Naruto, you've done a great job so far. All that's left is the ninjutsu portion of the exam. You will have to perform Kawarimi, substitution, Busai and clone technique, and Henge, transformation. Explained Sarutobi. Without missing a beat, Naruto disappeared in a puff of smoke, and in his place was a log. He then emerged from the forest just behind where they were all standing. As for Busai and clone technique, I've always been unable to properly perform that. But Naruto formed a familiar cross-shaped seal, and cried out Kage Bushin no Jutsu Shadow Clone. Another Naruto suddenly popped into existence right next to the original, and grinned at the Hokage, and future Hokage in front of him. Can't perform Kage Bushin, who in the world is this boy? Were the thoughts of the two, as they looked at Naruto in awe. Well done Naruto, now finally please perform a Henge transformation. A sinister grin appeared on Naruto's face. The two didn't quite understand why, but for some reason that grin filled them with fear. But before either could figure out why. Orik. Anoko Daoshi no Jutsu, double knockout girls technique. There was a puff of smoke, and when it cleared, Sarutobi and the Nidaime were not ready for what they saw. In front of them were two 19-year-old girls with pigtails. But what really caught their attention was the fact that both girls were very shapely and very nude. They never had a chance. Ah. Both men screamed as they were propelled backwards into a tree, thanks to the stream of blood coming from each of their noses. They both slid down the tree and slipped into unconsciousness with lecherous grins on their faces. Suddenly the girls vanished, and left behind an extremely amused-looking Naruto. Geez, maybe I should have used Auric no instead. My ultimate perverted technique might have been too much for them. It took a few minutes, but the two eventually recovered. Needless to say, Naruto passed the exam with flying colors. The new black hit eyed around his forehead marked Naruto as a shinobi of Konoha. Well Naruto, congratulations on becoming a Konoha Genin, said the Hokage. You can meet your team tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock at Training Ground 7. Alright then, see you old guys later. Said Naruto, as he turned to leave. Oh, and Naruto, said the Hokage to his new shinobi, that technique, and any other hentai of yours, are all now S-rank forbidden. Naruto's hotel room. After he had left the training grounds, Naruto went to eat some dinner, and then went straight back to his hotel where he was left alone to his thoughts, and then it hit him. He was all alone again. He tried to tell himself over and over that they hadn't died, rather that they had not been born yet. But it was all the same to him alone. The life that he had in Konoha was gone forever. Eventually Kazama Naruto would be born, he would have a happy childhood, a mother and father who loved him. Everyone in Konoha would respect him, as the son of the Yondaime. Eventually he would follow in his father's footsteps, and become a shinobi. One day he might even fall in love with Hyuga Hinata, and while Kazama Naruto could grow up and do these things, it wouldn't be him. Try as he might, Naruto couldn't stop the tears from falling. Suddenly, he realized that this wasn't going to fix anything. I'm always saying that I would do anything for my precious people, aren't I? Sitting here bitching and moaning isn't going to fix anything. I have a chance to change things in the past so their future will be different. So what if I'll have to sit back and watch? His old life was gone, and he would have to come to terms with that, because that life would belong to someone else. However, even though his old life was gone, that didn't mean that he couldn't make a new one here, at this time. As the thoughts in his head started taking a more positive turn, Naruto drifted off to sleep. Hokage's office. Konoha was a relatively new shinobi village. But even so, the Nidaime Hokage was already becoming somewhat of a legend. He had helped found Konoha with his older brother. and he was feared in battle due to his raging blade and his ability to use Suiton without a water source. As great a warrior as he was, the greatest enemy of all Kages managed to defeat him every time. It was an unrelenting enemy that never diminished and had an infinite number of allies. So when Sir Toby came into his office, he was very grateful for the distraction. "Is he with paperwork again? I see, Hokage-sama." "Sir, how many times must I tell you that it is not necessary to address me that way?" said the Nidame jokingly. "Now I assume you've come with the report." "Yes, sensei, we have pushed the enemy back deeper into their territory than we had anticipated. They have also suffered significant losses," said the Hokage thoughtfully, as he stroked his chin. "It appears that we can finally put an end to all this bloodshed. Have another battalion ready to move out with me tomorrow morning. Hopefully we can convince them to sign a treaty rather than be forced to destroy them." "Do you really mean to do it after this war is over, sensei?" "Yes, I think the end of the war is a fitting time for change. The next generation is ready to take over. Besides, sir, I think you'll make a fine Hokage. You are already known throughout the shinobi world as the professor and the god of shinobi, and most importantly, you would do anything to protect your village and its people." Sir Toby was happy that his former sensei had so much faith in him. He had been selected to become the Sandaime Hokage over his major rival for the position, Danzo. "I'll try my hardest to live up to you and the Shodaime's faith in me." "Now what about Naruto?" asked Sir Toby. "Well, the fact he was lying about where he came from aside, he seems to be highly skilled as a shinobi. Should he prove to be loyal, I think we can expect great things from him in the future." "It's a strange sensei," began Sir Toby. "We both know he wasn't telling the truth about where he came from, but I'm not worried about him being a possible spy. I can't explain it, but I just know I can trust him. I honestly hope your intuition is correct. In either case, you'll be able to keep an eye on him from now on. The first four-man squad in Konoha's history. You have your work cut out for you, sir." The alarm in Naruto's hotel room went off, and without so much as a groan he got up and went into the shower. Spending 2.5 years constantly traveling with Jiraiya, he had been woken many times at odd hours in the morning. As such, getting up early was no longer a problem anymore. He briefly entertained the idea of being late again. After trying it once, he could see why Kakashi did it so much. It was fun seeing people's reactions to his excuses. But seeing as it would be his first time meeting his team, he decided it would be better to make a good impression. So he got dressed, went out for some breakfast, and then began to make his way to Training Ground 7. He was a bit early, so he walked leisurely through Konoha towards his meeting place. "It's going to be strange seeing that training ground again without them." Naruto mused to himself. As he arrived at the training ground, he froze in shock at what he saw. He had never expected this to happen. "Why in the hell didn't I expect this? They were both there when I called Sir Toby Oji-san, so it makes sense for them to put me on a team with someone I was familiar with, even if they didn't know how. Well, Naruto, welcome to Team 7. Sir Toby then introduced him around. He had thought Jiraiya was lying when he told him that Tsunade was flat-chested as a genin, given her future development. But lo and behold, there she was, flat-chested and all. Naruto was thankful that Arachimaru wasn't very talkative. He greeted him and said hello. But that was all. It took everything Naruto had to keep his face blank and keep from projecting killer intent at the future Snake Sannin, but he had. But after he met Arachimaru, he noticed that someone was missing. "Well, Naruto, it appears your final teammate is Law." Sir Toby never got to finish his sentence due to a smoke bomb that went off in front of him. Naruto's sweat dropped. He knew what was coming next. Sure enough, as the smoke began to clear, he heard a voice. "Behold, Konoha's greatest shinobi and master of stealth. The one whose supreme manliness and good looks can woo women twice his age. The great Jiraiya-sama has arrived. I can't believe he does things when he's 50 that he used to do when he was 12. Naruto couldn't help but laugh as he looked at his future sensei. Sure, his unruly white hair was much shorter, as were the red markings under his eyes, but he was still Jiraiya. I wonder if he already peeks at the hot springs at this age. Knowing him, the answer is probably yes. Though Naruto to himself. Well, new kid, I see you've already met Arachimaru, and flat chest over he. This time it was Jiraiya who didn't get to finish his sentence, courtesy of a punch from Tsunade that planted him on the ground. Pervert. I told you to stop calling me that. It's not my fault I haven't developed Jiraiya Baka yet, screamed Tsunade. Unknown to the two of them. But both Sir Toby and Naruto had the same thought going through their heads as they watched what was happening in front of them. This is going to be interesting. Naruto's first week as a member of Team Sir Toby had been interesting to say the least. Their time had mostly been spent working on D-rank missions and team building exercises. And did they ever need it, although getting used to a fourth team member was not the problem. Sometimes Naruto couldn't believe that these three bickering children would eventually become the greatest shinobi team that Konoha would ever produce. Having only been on the team a little over a week, he hadn't gotten to know them particularly well yet, but that would come in time. He did seem to naturally get along with Jiraiya and Tsunade, however. I suppose that's natural. Even though they're only children, I did get to know their future selves pretty well. In a way, I know them better than they know themselves, Naruto mused to himself. Arachimaru, however, was a different story. Naruto preferred to keep him at arm's length. He knew he wasn't exactly being fair. There was no guarantee that he would become the Arachimaru that Naruto remembered. But for now he couldn't help it. Every time he looked at him he saw Arachimaru's rank missing nin, and Konoha's greatest traitor. There were also times where some of his mannerisms were eerily reminiscent of Sasuke, which struck another nerve. And then there was Sarutobi, who aside from being 30 years younger, was the same kind old man he'd always known. Right down to the way he would look at Naruto, and seemed to be able to read him like a book. This would probably explain why he had been paying special attention to him. Not that I blame him, I figured that no matter what I said Oji-san would know I was lying. Pushing those thoughts out of his mind, Naruto decided to finish getting ready to go train with his team. After all, he was already 30 minutes late. 10 minutes later. Damn it, Sarutobi-sensei, where the hell is he? Screamed a frustrated Jiraiya. As Sarutobi looked at his other two genin, he could see Arachimaru was visibly frustrated, and that if Naruto didn't show up soon, Tsunade might just take her frustration out on Jiraiya. Frankly, he could understand where they were coming from. It was impossible not to be frustrated at Naruto when he would do this. Sarutobi was about to respond to Jiraiya when, "Yo," said Naruto like nothing was wrong, as he suddenly appeared. "Where the hell have you been, Naruto?" screamed an enraged Tsunade. Naruto looked at his teammates with a bored expression worthy of Hada Kakashi before answering, "Sorry I'm late, a group of rogue ninjas set the Hokage tower on fire, and I helped to put it out." Sarutobi and Arachimaru both sighed, and shook their heads in disbelief. They were both wondering if he would ever at least try to come up with a plausible excuse. Jiraiya and Tsunade, however. Liar. Instead of responding, Naruto merely smiled at both of them sheepishly. "Well, now that our entire team is here, what will we be doing today, Sarutobi-sensei?" asked Arachimaru, who had decided to speak for the first time. Said Sarutobi to himself, as he seemed to be asking himself the same thing. "I thought we would take a break from D-rank missions, and work on an advanced chakra control exercise." At this point Naruto turned out Jiraiya complaining about wanting to be taught some kick-ass jutsus, as well as Sarutobi, explaining how chakra control was important to a shinobi. Seeing, as they were genin, if they were going to work on chakra control, there was only one exercise they could be doing. Tree climbing, thought Naruto to himself, smiling, as he remembered working himself to exhaustion in the forests of Wave Country. Suddenly Naruto was pulled from his daydream, as Sarutobi threw 4 kunai onto the ground. "Each of you pick a tree, and use these kunai to mark your progress," instructed Sarutobi. Arachimaru took his kunai in hand. But before he began climbing, he attempted to test exactly how much chakra was needed for him to stick to the tree. He really is a genius, thought Naruto, as he couldn't help but be impressed by what Arachimaru was doing. Tsunade got about 10 feet up on her first try before slipping off. Jiraiya, on the other hand, barely made it 5 before the bark cracked, and he was propelled from the tree. "Smooth move, Jiraiya," Baka taunted Tsunade, as he landed on the ground in an unceremonious heap. Before Jiraiya could respond, Arachimaru finally began to climb his tree, and he made it twice, as far as Tsunade had before marking his progress, as he began to slip. "Well done, Arachimaru, and you, as well, Tsunade. You could stand to learn something from how Arachimaru approached this exercise," said Sarutobi. At this, Jiraiya was fuming. It's always Arachimaru this, or Arachimaru that. Suddenly everyone noticed that Naruto had started to climb his tree. He made it about halfway up before he fell, surprising everyone, including Sarutobi included. "That was very good, Naruto," praised Sarutobi, as he stared at Naruto intently. He wasn't the only one, the rest of his team was looking at him oddly, as well, especially Arachimaru. "I suppose he isn't used to being outdone. Well, that's definitely better than I did my first time with this exercise. But judging by the look Oji-san is giving me, I suppose I did a little too well." "Thanks to Sarutobi-sensei," said Naruto while smiling. He wasn't used to getting too much positive attention. Naruto began to notice that the dynamic between Jiraiya, Arachimaru, and Sarutobi was not all that different from that of himself, Sasuke, and Kakashi was. With that in mind, he couldn't help but sympathize with Jiraiya a little, so he decided to help him out. "Not bad for a first try, you two. The key is to use the proper amount of chakra," said Naruto to his blonde and white-haired teammates. "Jiraiya, you need to try using less chakra, while you, on the other hand, Tsunade, need to use a bit more." Heeding their teammates' advice, the two got back to work. Tsunade began to gradually improve her progress. But Jiraiya was still struggling, so Naruto decided he might need a little extra motivation. "You know, Jiraiya, the sooner you finish with this tree climbing exercise, the sooner you can go peeping at the hot springs," whispered Naruto into his teammate's ear. The white-haired boy suddenly went stiff, and Naruto was confused because he was sure that would be exactly what Jiraiya needed for motivation. He was about to apologize when Jiraiya turned around, and Naruto saw something that both amused and frightened him. His teammate had a fire burning in his eyes that was often referred to as the flames of youth by a certain pair of green spandex-wearing individuals. Geez, I thought only Lee could do that. Suppose this proves there really is such a thing. Scary. But at least I won't have to listen to any speeches about the flame. Alright, let's do it, yelled a very determined Jiraiya. Naruto couldn't help but laugh. No matter what age, beautiful women seemed to be Jiraiya's ultimate motivation in life. By the time Sarutobi had decided to call it a day, he was surprised at the progress his genin had made in only a day. Naruto was about 2/3 up his tree, while Arachimaru was about halfway up his. But what was surprising was that Jiraiya had actually passed Tsunade, and was only about 10 feet behind Arachimaru. You four have done very well with this exercise. In addition to our training, I advise you to work on this exercise in your spare time. In addition to improving chakra control, it also helps to build your stamina and chakra reserve. Sarutobi-sama. Sarutobi didn't get a chance to finish speaking to his genin. A messenger had come with news of the war. An agreement had been reached to end the war. But it had come at a heavy price. The Nidaime had fallen in battle. As Naruto lay on the bed in his apartment, his thoughts were erratic. But for the most part he kept thinking about different things that had happened since he'd been in this time. His apartment reminded him of the fact that he had moved in the day that the Nidaime had left for the front lines. Then his mind drifted to Sarutobi and Tsunade. Nidaime's death would probably hit the two of them harder than anybody. He was more to those two than just the leader of Konoha. To he was a mentor and a friend, while to Tsunade the man was family. Thinking about Tsunade had made him remember his first meeting with his new teammates. Flashback. The three young genin were looking at their new team members with confusion evident on their faces. Genin squads consisted of a sensei and 3 genin, so why were they getting a fourth? Alright team, as you can see we have a new team member. So let's take a moment to introduce ourselves again for his sake. Tell everyone a bit about yourself. Likes, dislikes, dreams, and hobbies, said Sarutobi, as he looked at Naruto, indicating he wanted him to go first. Well, my name is Naruto, and I like ramen. My dislikes are the 3 minutes it takes to prepare ramen, as well as arrogant people and traitors. My hobbies are training and learning about seals. My dream. Naruto had to pause for a moment, as he gave this some thought. His dream was to become Hokage, but was that what he still wanted? He had wanted to become Hokage in order to gain acknowledgement from everyone that had looked down on him for being as well as being able to protect those important to him. But he wasn't anymore, so he was in direct control of what people here thought of him. He also didn't know what the consequences would be if he became the Yondaime instead of his father. My dream is to be the greatest shinobi in Konoha's history, and to be happy. Sarutobi studied Naruto for a moment. Whether he knew it or not, his dream had revealed a bit about him. Becoming the greatest shinobi in Konoha's history was a big goal. But the look of determination in his eyes made it hard to doubt him. What had caught Sarutobi's attention was what he had said after that. It was phrased in a way that made it seem as if he had led a troubled life. I wonder what happened to you, Naruto. Seeing as Naruto was finished, the other blonde on their team decided to go next and introduce herself. I'm Tsunade, I like my family, and I dislike perverts. At this point she sent a glare in Jiraiya's direction. My hobbies are spending time with my little brother and studying anatomy. My dream is to become a great kunoichi and make my grandfather and granduncle proud. Naruto couldn't help but notice that she was already starting down the path to becoming a legendary Menin. I am the great Jiraiya. I like beautiful women and dislike sticks in the mud like Arachimaru. My hobbies are training and spending time at the hot springs. I never really thought much about a dream for the future though. Doesn't even write Icha paradise, and he's already calling it research. My name is Arachimaru. I don't particularly like it, and I dislike loud annoying people. My hobbies are training and learning. And my future goal is to become the greatest ninjutsu user in the shinobi world. To be the greatest ninjutsu user in the world, it seemed like a good goal. Naruto wondered where along the line it got twisted into the search for immortality. But maybe it doesn't have to be like last time. Then flashback. Naruto decided to stop reminiscing and go for a walk. He couldn't help but notice how somber the mood around Konoha was. A testament to how much the people were going to miss their Hokage. Nobody had much time to grieve when Oji-san died. We all had to focus on rebuilding the village. Thought the blonde grimly. Somehow, as he was walking around, Naruto ended up at the hot springs. He felt a familiar chakra distortion that told him that he was not alone. You know Jiraiya, even on days like today the women of Konoha will still put you in the hospital for peeping, said the blind to the nearby wall while smirking. At first nothing happened, but then the figure of a person seemed to emerge from the wall. As this person dropped his camouflage, it was indeed Naruto's white-haired teammate. How the hell did you know I was here? Nobody has ever detected me. Will I use this? Asked Jiraiya with a mixture of shock and indignation. Well, I guess I'm just full of surprises. I'll probably regret asking. But what exactly are you doing here? Well, this is a pretty sad time for Konoha. I just decided to come here and do some research to clear my head and hopefully cheer up a bit, replied Jiraiya. I see, so research must be what they're calling being a pervert these days. Don't call me a pervert, damn it, screamed Jiraiya without thinking. Instantly a wave of terror washed over Jiraiya, and Naruto smirked knowing what was coming next. There were sounds of movement and angry women coming from the other side of the wall. At this point Naruto decided to make a quick exit and took to the trees. I don't want to get too far away, then I might miss the show. Before Jiraiya could berate his teammate for abandoning him, he felt an incredible amount of killer intent coming from right behind him. Turning around, he saw a horde of women clad in nothing but bath towels. Jiraiya forgot for a brief moment that these women were about to put him in the hospital, and began drooling at the sight. That only made them angrier. Hidden perfectly up in the treetops, a certain blonde was watching the mob of women beat Jiraiya within an inch of his life. As he sat there he felt a smile creep onto his face, just for a moment while he was talking to Jiraiya, and now watching him get beat up by angry women, it felt just like old times. When the women left, Naruto came down from the trees, and picked Jiraiya out of the crater the women had just beaten him into. Having one more laugh at his teammate's expense, he then started to make his way towards the hospital. I forget that he's only 12, he hasn't perfected any of his body hardening techniques yet. Oh well, sooner or later he still had that coming. Jiraiya didn't stay long at the hospital, he only needed to be treated for minor cuts and bruises, well minor for a shinobi. The doctor however was curious. Jiraiya refused to tell anyone how he had gotten injured in the first place. After Jiraiya had been patched up, the two genin wandered around the village for a while, with Naruto poking fun at Jiraiya's previous situation of course. The two went and ate before deciding to go their separate ways for the night. The next morning Naruto woke up and started getting ready for Nidame's funeral. He showered, ate, put on his all-black shinobi funeral outfit, and left the house. The first thing that Naruto noticed was that unlike with Sandame's funeral, it wasn't raining. The whole village came to pay their final respects to their fallen leader. Sarutobi, clad in his Hokage robes, along with his former teammates Udatain Kaharu and Mitakato Himera, spoke a few words about their ex-sensei. Tsunade, who was standing next to Naruto, was doing her best to keep herself together, but tears were still falling freely from her face. On the other side of her was Nawaki, her 5-year-old brother. Naruto figured that she and Nidame were close, he was her granduncle after all. He put his arm around her, and gave what he hoped was a reassuring smile, as she turned to look at him. He didn't say anything, he just stood there with his arm around her, hoping it would provide at least a small bit of comfort. After everyone had dropped a single white flower atop his coffin, the funeral ended. Sarutobi informed his team before they left that they would meet at the usual spot tomorrow to resume their training. Tsunade's parents took Nawaki and headed off, while Tsunade headed off by herself in the opposite direction. For some reason Naruto felt that she shouldn't be alone, so when he went with her, Naruto didn't know what to say, and figured that Tsunade didn't seem to be in much of a talking mood, so the two walked in silence. Apparently Tsunade didn't have a destination, she just wasn't quite ready to go home, so the pair just walked around Konoha. After about half an hour or so Tsunade finally started to head home. When the pair got to her house, Naruto simply said goodbye, and gave her a hug before walking off towards his own house. As he turned the corner he missed Tsunade's smile, and mouthed a silent thank you before heading inside. The week after Nidame's funeral it was business, as usual for Team Sarutobi. They resumed their usual schedule of missions and training. With Sarutobi being the Sandame now, it was difficult for him to balance training his team and running Konoha, so it was not uncommon for him to send a group of KHBU and SHINS shadow clones to work with his team whenever he was busy. It had now been 6.5 months since the funeral, and Sarutobi was currently preparing his genin to enter the Chunin exams. There had been one a few weeks after Nidame's funeral, but Sarutobi had not allowed his team to enter. He preferred instead to further develop his team's skills, as well as giving them a chance to gain more experience. Jiraiya of course was furious at not being allowed to enter, but he did recognize that having the Hokage for a sensei would make them a huge target. They didn't need the fact that they were rookies to make it worse. After all, a genin team entering a Chunin exam at the first opportunity was almost unheard of. And so they were currently finishing up their last training session. Tomorrow morning they would be leaving. Alright, good job you four, said Sarutobi before adopting a serious expression they had only seen a few times from him. Before you all head home I would like to talk to you. What is Sarutobi-sensei? Asked a curious Arachimaru. Well, as you know, tomorrow we will be leaving for Kusagakure where the Chunin exams will be held. Isn't Kusagakure still a relatively new village? Why aren't the exams being held in one of the larger villages? Asked a puzzled Tsunade. As you all know, recently there has been a great deal of conflict between all of the elemental nations recently. Though the fighting has ceased, the hostility between villages is still quite high, and frankly, it was a better idea to hold the exams at a smaller, neutral village, explained Sarutobi. So basically nobody trusts anybody else, right Sarutobi-sensei? Said Naruto. I suppose that's pretty accurate. Now remember, I want you all to be careful, people have been known to die during these exams. But despite the danger I want you all to try your best. Hi sensei, replied all four genin simultaneously. With that all members of Team Sarutobi went their separate ways, and went home to prepare for tomorrow. I hope this Genin exams will be less eventful than my first one. Thought the blonde-haired shinobi. Ironically, the person responsible for all of the trouble during that exam was now a teammate of his. These were the thoughts on Naruto's mind while he was packing everything he thought he might need for the exam. Given his previous experiences with the Chunin exam, he couldn't help but be cautious and pack a little extra of everything. While he was packing, he also wondered what the exams would be like, how strong the other teams would be, and also if he would be promoted to Chunin. Across Konoha, thoughts similar to these were also on the minds of his 3 other teammates. Naruto woke early the next morning and set about preparing to leave his apartment. After he had showered, eaten, and double-checked his supplies, he decided to head for the main gate. After all, this is pretty important, so I'll do one better than show up on time. I'll be early. Thought Naruto with a smirk as he tried to envision the reaction of his teammates. He arrived at the gate a full 20 minutes early. To the only person there was a very surprised-looking Arachimaru. Even after all this time, he still couldn't get that apprehension regarding the future snake sannin out of the back of his head. But he had resolved a while ago to try and make a serious effort to get to know Arachimaru. After all, it didn't necessarily have to happen the same way as it did before. Suddenly Naruto was pulled from his musings as Arachimaru spoke up. "I'm surprised to see you here early of all things," said Arachimaru. "Well, what can I say? I like to keep you guys on your toes," replied a grinning Naruto. For a brief second, Naruto could have sworn he saw a small grin on Arachimaru's face. But a moment later it was gone, and he just brushed it off. A long, uncomfortable silence followed the 2 boys' brief conversation. This just served to remind Naruto of how far he used to go to keep Arachimaru at arm's length. He also recalled when it was brought to attention that his behavior wasn't just affecting him. Flashback. "Okay, today we are going to pair off and do some sparring, to jutsu only. So Jiraiya, you spar with Tsunade, and then Arachimaru, you will spar with Naruto," explained Sarutobi. Jiraiya and Tsunade both glanced at each other briefly before turning to look at Naruto. For some reason Naruto went out of his way to try, and had nothing to do with Arachimaru whatsoever. They figured that he would try to get out of working with him. And sure enough, Naruto was about to voice his objections to working with Arachimaru when, "Damn it, I can't take this anymore," screamed an irate Tsunade. "Naruto, I don't know what the hell your problem is with Arachimaru. But get over it. We are a team, the 4 of us, and it's time you started acting like it." Then flashback. And just like that, Tsunade had put Naruto in his place. He could have sworn that for a moment he saw Tsunade botch and yelling at him rather than his teammate. So like a good boy, he had resolved to work on his relationship with Arachimaru. But would have thought that she could be just as frightening at 12 as she can be at 50. Taught Naruto to himself. "So how do you feel about our chances in the Chunin exams, Arachimaru?" "I am not sure. The exams are said to be extremely difficult, especially on a Genin squad's first try. But I still expect to do well, even if I do not get promoted," answered Naruto's pale teammate. Both boys continued to engage in some light conversation about the exams, and when their other teammates arrived they joined in as well. This was the scene that greeted Sarutobi when he finally arrived, all 4 of his charges discussing the exam. At seeing all 4 of them finally starting to bond, he couldn't help but smile. "Alright, it is time to depart. It is almost a 6-day journey westward to Kusagakure. The exam however starts at 7, so the quicker we get there the more time there will be for you to rest up," said the sannin to his team. "Are you 4 ready?" "Hi sensei." And with that the 5 set off westward towards Kusagakure, an island of grass. Most of the journey took them through Fire Country, which was uneventful for Naruto. During his training with Jiraiya he had been all over Fire Country, as well as a few other places. However, he had never been to Kusa, so he was looking forward to seeing what it was like. So Naruto took particular notice as the landscape began to change. The lush green forests of Hinokayu, an island of fire, began to thin out, and eventually gave way to open plains that signified the beginnings of grass country. After a few more hours, Team Sarutobi found themselves traveling through a dense bamboo forest. Naruto paid particular attention due to the fact that he had never quite seen anything like this before. After all, bamboo was non-existent in Konoha. "Alright team, if we pick up the pace we can reach Kusagakure, hidden grass, within the hour," said Sarutobi as he began speeding up. And just like that Naruto was pulled from his sightseeing as the team sped onward. Like their sensei had said, they indeed found themselves at the gates of Kusagakure in less than an hour. For Genin, who had never been out of Fire Country before, a different hidden village was quite a sight. From what they had seen, Kusagakure was mostly a mixture between bamboo forests, slightly rocky terrain, and of course grassy plains. The village seemed to be naturally surrounded by a bamboo forest, so for the most part, there was no need for the high walls that Konoha boasted. The village itself was smaller than Konoha, but had an entirely different look and feel to it. If Naruto had to pick one word to describe Kusa, it would be green. For indeed, even within the village itself there was an abundance of plant life, be it grass fields, trees, or other exotic plants. Other than that, most of the buildings and shops appear to be standard. Many of the various shops, clan houses, and various other structures would not have been out of place in any other shinobi village. However, the one exception to this was their cage tower. It was massive, easily the tallest building in the village, which is normal for a shinobi village. But what was unusual was what the tower was constructed of. It seemed to be made of an elegant sort of marble material. Naruto couldn't help but notice that it looked more like a sculpture than where the strongest shinobi of the village spent his time. As Team Sarutobi continued through the village towards their hotel, each member of the team had their minds on the exam. Naruto exuded somewhat of a focused calm. Arachimaru had sculled a neutral expression onto his face. Jiraiya had on a cocky smirk. But Tsunade seemed a bit troubled. It's unusual to see Tsunade like this. I wonder what the problem is, thought Naruto to himself silently. His time with his new team had given him a much better understanding of women than he had previously possessed at age 12. So he knew it was best to catch Tsunade alone, before trying to find out the problem, rather than putting her on the spot in front of everyone. Naruto decided to keep his mouth shut as they continued on their way. After checking in, the team proceeded to their rooms. Being the only kunoichi of the group, Tsunade had gotten her own room. The addition of Naruto split the boys up as well. Naruto roomed with Jiraiya, and Arachimaru was with Sarutobi. Before you all go to your rooms, I have just a few things to say. First off, the Genin exams officially begin tomorrow morning at 9. Here are your entry passes for the exam, said Sarutobi, as he handed each of his charges a form of paper. That form contains all the necessary information regarding your first exam tomorrow. This is all the information you will be getting for now. Beyond that, I would like to remind you that your greatest asset in this exam is teamwork. Good luck to all of you. And with that, Sarutobi made a single seal and disappeared in a cloud of smoke. Damn, I really need to learn that, said Jiraiya and Naruto simultaneously. It was near dinner time already upon their arrival at the hotel, so the 4 teammates decided to get some dinner before turning in for the night. Upon Naruto's insistence, they ended up at a ramen bar, where he proceeded to try all the local flavors, all 10 of them. Both Naruto's teammates and the owner of the ramen stand looked at the increasing pile of empty ramen bowls next to Naruto with a mixture of awe and disgust. Naruto, how in the hell can you eat so much ramen? Screamed a frustrated and grossed out Jiraiya. At this, Naruto paused from his eating, looked up, and responded with a single phrase. I just love ramen. Before getting right back to devouring whatever bowl of his favorite food that happened to be in front of him. Anyways, continued Jiraiya, I can't wait for the exams to start tomorrow, so the world can bear witness to the amazing skill of the great Jiraiya-sama. Who knows, I might even kick your ass, paleface. The only outward sign that Arachimaru had even heard Jiraiya was a twitch above his left eyebrow, signifying his anger. It would be unwise to underestimate the other participants of the exam, and besides, it's impossible for me to be defeated by someone as stupid as you, Jiraiya Baka, said Arachimaru. Watching the two of them go back and forth like that, Naruto couldn't help but laugh and think how different it was watching this happen from an outsider's perspective. Naruto briefly turned to his left to notice that his 4th teammate was no longer with him. As quietly as he could, Naruto paid for his meal and left the stand to find his wayward teammate. Luckily, Naruto found Tsunade the first place he looked for her. She was standing outside of a local gambling parlor watching all of the action. Once she noticed Naruto, she decided to resume walking, this time towards their hotel. They walked in complete silence, however Naruto was intently watching his teammate and could tell something was troubling her. Once they got inside her room, Naruto decided it was time to break the silence. So Tsunade, I can tell that something is bothering you, would you like to talk about it? Asked Naruto gently. The two stared at each other for what seemed like an eternity, with Naruto simply waiting for Tsunade to explain what was wrong, and Tsunade debating whether or not she really wanted to tell him. She didn't know what it was, but something in those blue eyes of his made Tsunade want to confide in him. Well, I was just thinking about the Chunin exams, and Naruto was now back in his own room. He had spent quite some time talking with Tsunade, longer than either of them had realized. Not that it bothered him, he enjoyed talking to Tsunade. He was now attempting to get ready to go to sleep. But for some reason he couldn't explain, he was antsy. I don't know why I can't just get to sleep. This Chunin exam is going to be completely normal. Well, as completely normal as anything in the shinobi world can be. It's not like I have to worry about Arachimaru invading. So why do I get the feeling that something is going to happen during these exams? Doing his best to push these thoughts aside, Naruto soon found himself drifting off to sleep. He had woken up a bit early the next morning, and he was too excited to sleep. Even though this would be his 3rd Chunin exam, Naruto still found himself looking towards it. So he showered, ate, and then went about the business of getting dressed and gathering the equipment he would need today. Naruto slipped out of the room as Jiraiya was just beginning to wake up and decided to wait for his team in the lobby. A little less than an hour later, the 4 members of Team Sarutobi were making their way to where the first portion of the exam would be held. Each of their faces held a look of absolute determination. Thinking about his team and this exam, Naruto couldn't help but smirk mentally. They'll never know what hit. It wasn't nearly as impressive the third time around. That was what Naruto couldn't help but think looking around at the assembled genin. He noticed that most of the genin were sending some pretty hostile glares in Team Sarutobi's direction. I guess being personally trained by the Hokage, as well as being the only team with a fourth genin paints a pretty big bullseye on our backs. Lucky us, thought Naruto dryly. Meanwhile, the rest of Naruto's team was doing their best to mask any apprehension they might have been feeling upon seeing how hostile everyone seemed to be towards them. Although Arachimaru and Jiraiya were doing a better job than Tsunade. Her refusal to show any weakness was the only thing to keep her from shivering at the multitude of glares upon them. As Team Sarutobi headed towards an unoccupied corner of the room, they never noticed a team from both Iwa and Kiri paying them particular attention. "So that's the Hokage's team, huh?" asked one of the Kiri genin, who had black hair tied into a ponytail. "Yay, but they don't look like much," replied one of his teammates, a brown-haired Kunoichi. Before the last of the Kiri team, a blue-haired nin could agree with his teammate, he was interrupted. "The Kiri nin would do well not to underestimate anyone trained by the god of Shinobi," came a voice from right next to the Kiri team, which belonged to an Iwa nin with long silver hair and a muscular build. "They are no doubt quite skilled, especially that blonde boy." While Iwa nin was speaking, his eyes never left Naruto. As they waited for their proctors, Tsunade couldn't help but state the obvious. "Does anybody get the feeling that people here are paying us particular attention? I suppose that with us being the students of the Hokage our reputation precedes us," said Arachimaru in the calm, collected monotone he had become famous for. "Being able to say you defeated the students of the Hokage would be quite an accomplishment." "Yay, either that or people are all bent out of shape seeing as we're a team of 4, stated Jiraiya. "Well, either way it looks like almost everyone is just itching to take a shot at us," thought Swan to herself. Suddenly Tsunade noticed a comforting hand on her shoulder. Turning around she noticed the smiling face of her fellow blonde-haired teammate. "Don't worry Tsunade, we're gonna do just fine," said Naruto encouragingly. For some reason that she couldn't quite fathom right then, that one simple statement from Naruto seemed to completely renew her confidence. "Thank you Naruto-kun," said Tsunade. As soon as the words left her mouth she immediately realized that she had indeed just said that aloud. It was at this point that her face took on an interesting shade of cherry red. As if her neck had a will of its own, she raised her head to chance a look at her teammates. Naruto and Arachimaru kept whatever was on their minds at that moment to themselves, merely responding with raised eyebrows. Unfortunately Jiraiya wasn't as gracious. "Oh Naruto-kun, now is it? I had no idea that you two were already on such friendly terms," joked Jiraiya while grinning lecherously. Tsunade quickly snapped out of her embarrassment and handed Jiraiya a one-way ticket to the floor. Full thought Arachimaru. "No matter what I suppose Iro-sennin will always be a baka," thought Naruto, as he shook his head in exasperation. It was at this moment that the Genin Exam proctors arrived. The head proctor was for the most part unassuming, save for a horizontal scar on his face that ran cheek to cheek. "Welcome to Kusagakure's Genin Exam. I will be your head proctor for this stage of the exam. When your team is called, follow your respective proctor to your team's assigned meeting room. Once you arrive, your exam will begin," explained the Kusanin curtly. One by one exam proctors would call out a team, and then lead them up one floor to their meeting room. After about half of the teams had been called. "Team Sarutobi from Konoha, please follow me," said a female Kusachunin. Wordlessly 4 genin stood up, and followed the proctor who had called them up to the next floor of the building they were in. This floor consisted of what looked to be mostly offices. Soon after, the members of Team Sarutobi found themselves in a small room that had been made to resemble a mission planning area. "I will be your proctor for this portion of the exam. You may refer to me as Taka," stated the woman. "Well Taka-san, what are our instructions for the first exam?" asked Arachimaru. Before answering, Taka pulled a scroll from her pouch and summoned a folder of documents from within it. "This year the initial stage of the Genin Exam will be a mock mission of sorts. Your team is charged with the retrieval of vital documents from a secure location. This folder contains all necessary information regarding your mission. I will remain in the room to answer any questions you may have. You have 2 hours to plan out your mission beginning now." And with that Taka handed the genin the folder of documents and let them get to work. Going through the documents, it was stated that the exam would take place near the northeastern section of grass country near the border to Earth country. Simply put, they had to make their way to an outpost roughly 10 kilometers from their starting position and retrieve a document. In actuality, however, it was much more complicated. For one thing, they weren't the only team to be assigned to retrieve a document, and there were only a limited number. Secondly, not all the teams were assigned to retrieve a document. Some were assigned to secure the compound and the surrounding area. After about 30 minutes of reviewing the information given to them, Jiraiya was the first to speak. "Damn, this could be tricky. Not only do we have to get to our destination within the deadline, but we also have to get there quick enough to make sure we get a document, as well as to avoid the other teams trying to stop us." Glancing at the map of the area they were given, Arachimaru suddenly had an idea. Taka-san, would it be acceptable if we made individual copies of the map for ourselves? Hi, that is allowed, replied Taka, as she fought to keep the grin off of her face. Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Arachimaru went to start copying the map onto a spare scroll. Naruto, however, ought to adopt a different approach. Before any of his teammates could ask why he wasn't copying the map, he stood up and made a single cross-shaped seal. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu Shadow Clone Technique. As 4 clones of Naruto suddenly came into existence and set themselves to the task of making copies of the map, 4 people had to pick their jaws up off the floor. After all, a genin shouldn't be capable of making Kage Bunshins, shadow clones. Well, this group is definitely full of surprises, thought Taka. The Narutos ignored the shock of their teammates and continued copying the map. Once the maps were finished, the remainder of the team's time was spent going over strategy. They decided to get to the compound as quickly as possible, avoiding combat whenever possible. Since there was no way of knowing how well guarded the compound would be, they decided to plan their infiltration once they got there. The final thing they did before time was up was discuss what to do in the event they became separated. It was at this point that Taka once again made her presence known. Well, your 2 hours are up. Congratulations on passing the first exam, she exclaimed cheerfully. Shock was evident on the faces of Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Arachimaru. Naruto, however, was facing away from everyone, so nobody could see his face. Suddenly he began to laugh. Well damn, why didn't I think of that? He said to himself. What the hell is so funny? And what do you mean we just passed the first exam? The first exam is what we just spent 2 hours planning, said Jiraiya with an irate tone, obviously not appreciating being left out of the loop. Chunin are expected to be able to effectively lead a squad of shinobi, thus making you responsible for the lives of your teammates. Not only must you be able to effectively lead a mission, you must also effectively plan for a mission. Those who foolhardy charge into situations unprepared will end up getting themselves or their comrades killed. Trash like that are not fit to become Chunin, explained Taka. Remember what the head proctor told us at the meeting room. He said the exam would begin as soon as we were separated, stated Naruto in an amused tone of voice. And indeed it did. But even though you didn't know you were being tested, you passed with flying colors. You all have the rest of the day off. Meet at the area indicated on the map tomorrow at 10 AM to begin the second exam. And again congratulations on passing the first exam, said Taka before unlocking the room and letting everyone file out. As the Konoha Genin left to enjoy the rest of their day and prepare for tomorrow, Taka couldn't help but be impressed. The team of the Hokage had passed with flying colors. Those 4 are something else. I get the feeling one day the whole shinobi world will know their names, she thought to herself with a smile before leaving. Alright. We kicked ass on the first exam, yelled an enthusiastic Jiraiya, pleased with his team's recent success. Said team of Genin was currently walking through the streets of Kusa, both enjoying the rest of their day, as well as trying to find their sensei. After all, Sarutobi would definitely be interested in knowing how his team performed. However, one of them decided to voice something that had been on their minds since the exam. Naruto began Arachimaru, drawing the attention of his teammates. When did you learn Kage Bunshi and Shadow Clone? Suddenly Tsunade and Jiraiya had their eyes on their 2 other teammates, for they too had been wondering where Naruto had learned such an advanced skill. As Naruto looked at Arachimaru, he noticed he had the same look in his eyes that he had when they did the tree climbing exercise all those months ago. A mixture of curiosity with a slight twinge of jealousy. A look that surprisingly, his teammates were mirroring. Crap, thought Naruto to himself, I should have known they wouldn't just let that drop. Looks like they think Oji-san has been showing me a few things on the side. Well, that's not the case, but then again I learned it after stealing the Forbidden Scroll almost 40 years from now won't fly either. Sarutobi-sensei, and I haven't been training in secret if that's what any of you are thinking. At this the features of his teammates softened slightly. But where I did learn it is a secret. Naruto suddenly took a turn down a mostly deserted street, and though slightly confused as to where he was going, his team followed anyway. Tsunade and Jiraiya seemed to accept that they weren't going to get anything more out of him. Arachimaru on the other hand was about to question Naruto further when the blonde in question stopped moving and turned around. You might as well come out now. Suddenly 3 blurs jumped down and landed in front of Naruto and his team. He recognized them as the team from Kiri without even needing to look at their height. At the sudden appearance of enemy genin from another village, Tsunade and Jiraiya pulled out kunai and assumed defensive positions. Arachimaru and Naruto on the other hand didn't appear to be threatened by these newcomers at all, at least to the untrained eye. Well, are all you Konohan in this jumpy? Spoke the tallest of the trio. A blue-haired boy who held a sheathed katana in his left hand. Why don't you tell us whatever it is you came here to say, and stop following us around? Said Tsunade. This blue-haired nin from before spoke again. Very well, Tsunade, I suppose it's only prudent for us to get to the point of our visit. This statement raised eyebrows from Team Sarutobi. I suppose we shouldn't be surprised that you know of us, spoken by Arachimaru. After all, most shinobi would want to keep an eye on any shinobi trained by the cage of another village. It was at this point that the lone female on the Kiri team spoke: Tsunade, Jiraiya, Arachimaru, and Naruto. Students of Sarutobi the Sandaime Hokage Aka the Professor God of Shinobi. We came here to tell you that you four will be our targets for this exam, and we will defeat you. Throughout this whole meeting, the third member of the team from Kiri, a boy with black hair tied into a ponytail, who had two wakizashi sheathed on his lower back, never took his eyes off Naruto. And to be honest, he was starting to get a bit annoyed. You look like you have something you want to say to me, said Naruto. My name is Kinkaku Taishu. I look forward to testing my abilities against you, Naruto, said the boy who called himself Taishu. Naruto noticed that a thick mist began to form on the street they were on, and when it cleared, the team from Kiri was gone. That Taishu guy reminds me of Itachi, and that can't possibly be a good thing. With their unexpected visitors gone, Team Sarutobi decided to continue on their way. They had barely been walking for a few minutes when Naruto's stomach decided to make its presence known. As Naruto's stomach rumbling drew the attention of his entire team, he simply put his hand behind his head and smiled sheepishly. Anyone want to join me for some ramen? At this point, Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Arachimaru's sweat dropped before walking off, leaving Naruto to seek out his favorite meal on his own. I take that as a no. 8 bowls of ramen later, Naruto decided to call it quits. But rather than return to his hotel, he decided to continue walking around Kusa. After a little while, he found himself in what he concluded must have been a training area. The sun was just beginning to set, and for some reason he couldn't explain, Naruto felt compelled to watch it. Suddenly Naruto looked behind him, and threw kunai into the bushes. You know, I'm getting real sick of people following me around today, he said in an annoyed tone. From the bushes emerged a boy with long silver hair and a muscular build. Naruto identified him as an Iwanin from the hit I around his neck. He also noted that this mysterious nin had caught his kunai in between 2 fingers. I apologize for following you all day. I was simply waiting to catch you alone before introducing myself, said the boy in a cheerful tone. My name is Heibashi Toshiro. It's a pleasure to meet you, Kazama Naruto. With his introduction, he extended his hand, which Naruto shook. Well, you already seem to know who I am, said Naruto with a smirk. Oh, indeed I do, and now that the introductions have been made, I'll be taking my leave. The next time we meet I'm going to kill you, said Toshiro with a smile on his face. Will you now? Might I ask why you want me dead? Certainly, I believe that aside from myself, you might be the strongest genin in this exam. Toshiro continued to speak in the same cheerful tone. Thus I want to fight you, and when we do I am going to kill you. I see, said Naruto, you like to fight the toughest competition. Well, you seem very sure you will defeat me. It might not be that easy. Toshiro suddenly threw Naruto's kunai back at him. Naruto caught it with a finger through the ring at the end, centimeters from striking his eye. At this, Toshiro smiled even wider. Oh, I definitely don't expect it to be easy, Naruto. In fact, I hope it will be quite the opposite. After all, easy kills are never satisfying. Jana. After saying his farewell, Toshiro performed Shunshin, body flicker, leaving Naruto once again by himself. Looks like a lot of people are interested in fighting me. This should be fun, thought Naruto to himself, as he decided to return to his hotel and get some sleep. After all, it was a big day tomorrow. The next day, second exam starting area. As Team Sarutobi arrived at their starting point, they saw Taka waiting to greet them. Well, you four are here early. That's good, now we can get started. As you know, you are the only team with 4 members, so there will be a slight change in the parameters of your exam. Instantly the 4 genin were a bit wary, especially Naruto. He didn't like where he thought this was going. But it was Jiraiya that spoke up. What do you mean by a slight change? At this, a sadistic smirk appeared on Taka's face that reminded Naruto way too much of one Mitarashi and Co. Well, you 4 are going to be separated, and will have to find your missing team members before proceeding with your mission. Suddenly Tukusa appeared out of thin air, grabbed Naruto, and Sunshine deep body flicker, away to an unknown location. Before any of the 3 remaining team members could make any sort of protest, Taka tossed them a scroll. That's another map that shows the general area where Naruto is now located, and he's been given one to show your location. Your second exam starts now. Have fun, guys, said Taka cheerfully before vanishing. As of yet unknown location. The 2 that had abducted him had just given Naruto a similar speech to the one Taka had given his teammates before vanishing. As Naruto looked around the mountain range where he had been dropped off, he had only one thought. Well, isn't this just my luck? After being held back for a year by their sensei from participating in the Genin exams, Team Sarutobi could honestly say they were excited about finally being allowed to participate. Because in hindsight they could honestly say that the extra year of missions and training had been invaluable. From the moment they arrived, each member of the team could tell that they were above most of the other teams skill-wise. Add to that the fact that they had one more teammate than everyone else, and they were feeling pretty sure of themselves. At least until the second exam. Team Sarutobi had been separated. Not only did they have to complete their task, but they also had to do it as a complete team, meaning they had to find Naruto. And this is precisely what the blonde's 3 remaining teammates were trying to do, leaping through the trees, searching for their 4th team member. "Damn it, where the hell is Naruto?" screamed an irate Jiraiya. The map they had been given after Naruto had been separated from them showed the general area in which he would be placed. He was near the Iwakusa border to the north, which unfortunately was the complete opposite direction of their destination, which was closer to the border Kusa shared with Aim in the south. Luckily it was not more than half a day out of their way. "I told you we should have waited to let him find us rather than the other way around," stated Arachimaru. "We had to try Arachimaru, we couldn't just leave him out here by himself and wait for him to run into us," said Tsunade with a frown. "He can take care of himself. But that isn't important. Like we said, if we can't find him by sundown, then we'll start moving towards where the documents we need are located. No matter what, he knows that we all have to be there to complete this exam." Tsunade was about to berate Arachimaru for seeming so cold when Jiraiya spoke up. "Hate to burst your bubble, Tsunade, but Paleface is right," said Jiraiya, earning himself a glare from Arachimaru. "All we're going to do by searching aimlessly is waste time." "Well, it looks like I'm outnumbered. But it doesn't make much sense to search aimlessly hoping we got lucky. I'm just worried about him," said the granddaughter of the first Hokage. Both of her remaining teammates nodded in agreement, and with that the three turned to head the opposite direction, unaware of the eyes watching them from the shadows. While the other members of Team Sarutobi had decided to abandon their search, Naruto was descending a mountain range. He wondered, not for the first time, what would happen if he tried to summon a toad to take him down these mountains. "Just my luck, they just had to separate me from them. I just hope they aren't wasting any time searching for me," thought the blind man. As Naruto looked below him, he noticed, to his dismay, that he had hardly made any progress in descending the mountain he was on. Memories of Jiraiya throwing him down a ravine to motivate him to summon properly kept popping into his head. And thus he was somewhat apprehensive about leaping down the mountain, due to him not being sure he would be able to use chakra to stick to the mountain. But then again, when has Uzumaki or rather Kazama Naruto ever played it safe? And with that the potential Konoha Chunin gathered chakra to the soles of his feet and leapt downwards. Arachimaru was uneasy. Ever since they had abandoned searching for Naruto in favor of heading towards their objective, he had the feeling they were being watched. As he looked on either side of him, he saw that both of his teammates noticed, as well. Even that fool Jiraiya has noticed. "I suppose all of that ridiculous peeping serves some purpose," thought Arachimaru to himself. They had been stalking their prey for hours, and had thus far remained undetected. As the Konoha Genin stopped for the day, his team decided it was time to strike. Just a few more minutes, and the Sandaime Hokage's precious Genin team would be no more than corpses. Team Sarutobi was gathered around a fire eating field rations in relative silence. After all, it had been a very trying day so far with being separated, as well as being of two minds of whether it would be better to locate Naruto or move towards their objective, to increase their chances of running into Naruto. As they sat there, they never noticed the three shadows moving silently into position to strike them all down simultaneously. One of the hidden assailants could hardly believe it. These Konoha were completely inept. Sneaking up on them was turning out easier than basic academy training. It was almost enough to make him think about attacking from the front, so he could look into their eyes, as they died. But there was no need to be reckless. Sorry excuses for Shinobi such, as this didn't deserve to see the faces of those killing them. So much for being trained by the god of Shinobi himself, but what should one expect from tree-hugging Konoha? And with that, 3 sets of kunai and shuriken struck Arachimaru, Tsunade, and Jiraiya simultaneously, and also, as one, where there were once 3 Konoha, there were now only 3 logs in their place. Before the 3 thought to be unknown attackers were able to verbalize their surprise, they caught the sound of 3 exploding tags just in time to react before they were blown to bits. As the debris from the explosion cleared, the trio of now revealed Tsunagenin found themselves slightly worse for wear. But still in one piece. "You really shouldn't have underestimated us like that," came a decidedly feminine voice from above. Looking up to the tree line, the team from Tsuna spotted Tsunade and Arachimaru leaning casually up against a tree. "Hey, wait a minute, where the hell is the Erg?" The supposed leader of the Sun Trio, a nondescript older boy with short brown hair, never got the chance to finish his question. Because at that moment Jiraiya appeared out of thin air, putting a kunai into his shoulder, while throwing 2 others at his teammates which were dodged. Jiraiya smirked at his wounded opponent before forming a hand seal and vanishing into thin air. All of the Tsuna team jumped back and assumed a guard position, frantically trying to locate Jiraiya before he strikes again. Suddenly, someone threw a smoke bomb, and from within the smoke, behold the unbeatable ultimate stealth peeping technique. Toten no Jutsu transparent escape technique. Now prepare yourselves for defeat by the shinobi with no equal in all of the shinobi nations, the great Jiraiya-sama. The moment the smoke had cleared, everyone in the clearing saw Jiraiya in what all thought was the most ridiculous looking pose ever. Picking up on the fact that nobody seemed to be impressed, Jiraiya adopted a fighting stance, as his 2 teammates dropped down next to him. The Sun Trio cursed their luck. They had assumed the Team Sarutobi were nothing more than a bunch of spoiled brats playing at being ninja. They had completely ignored the fact that the Sandaime Hokage was widely regarded as the greatest shinobi alive, so any students of his would no doubt be skilled. Underestimating them had resulted in one of their teammates without the use of an arm, creating a serious mismatch. Both teams stood across from each other, but nobody made a move. Suddenly the members of Team Sarutobi shot forward to engage their attackers, in hopes of creating enough distance between them to separate their opponents from their teammates. Jiraiya was able to separate the Tsunade Genin he had already injured from his two teammates. But Arachimaru and Tsunade were unsuccessful in that regard. With Jiraiya, how could I have been hurt by this white-haired idiot? This was the thought that went through the head of the injured Tsunade Genin, as he dodged a series of punches and kicks courtesy of Jiraiya. Suddenly one of Jiraiya's punches snuck through his guard to connect with his jaw and send him tumbling across the ground. The white-haired Konohanin seized the opportunity to flash through a set of hand seals before taking a deep breath. Kaden. Dakaku no Jutsu Great Fireball Technique. Seeing a giant fireball heading his way, the Tsunanin wisely decided to dodge. The kunai still lodged into his shoulder didn't completely render his arm useless, but it was bad enough to where he couldn't possibly hope to trade with his opponent. What he needed was a distraction. In a flash of inspiration he pulled the kunai from his shoulder and threw it in between himself and his opponent with an explosive tag around the hilt. It wasn't close enough to Jiraiya to cause damage, even if he hadn't noticed at the last moment. But it did give him the distraction he was waiting for. Damn it, what the hell is he up to, wondered the yet-to-be Toad summoner. Jiraiya was not berating himself for not pressing his advantage with his opponent's arm, as injured as it was he couldn't hope to use ninjutsu effectively in combat. He would need extra time to form hand seals due to his injured arm. Time that Jiraiya gave him by messing around. Suddenly Jiraiya leapt away, as he sensed an incoming presence on his left side. As the debris finally cleared he noticed that indeed the explosion had given his opponent the necessary time to form hand seals. No IIBA sort of wind was all the Tsunanin said before he charged. Being on the defensive, Jiraiya now noticed that his opponent was a lot faster than he thought. Knowing he couldn't dodge forever, because he would eventually get caught and then cleaved in two, Jiraiya desperately racked his brain for a way to defeat the trademark Tsunade technique. The Tsunade Genin overextended on one of his slashes, giving Jiraiya an opportunity to create some distance, courtesy of a crushing punch to the face. He wasted no time forming hand seals, and was already launching his technique before his opponent had even recovered. Kaden. Hasuka no Jutsu Mythical Fire Phoenix Technique. Unlike before, this fire technique created a number of smaller fireballs, which the Tsunanin was hard-pressed to dodge, being caught off balance. Unfortunately, one fireball managed to connect with the very hand he held his own technique in. Then Futon techniques feed Kaden techniques. His entire right arm erupted in flame, as he let out an ear-splitting shriek, while he attempted to heap dirt onto his arm, in an effort to douse the flames. While he succeeded, the damage was already done, as his entire arm was charred black. But he had little time to worry about his arm, as Jiraiya delivered a crushing blow to the back of his head, that sent him into unconsciousness. Jiraiya spared his downed opponent one final glance, before rushing off to assist his teammates. Both Tsunade and Arachimaru. Jiraiya's teammates were having a slightly more difficult time in dealing with their opponents, who were highly skilled at working in tandem. Tsunade and Arachimaru on the other hand were not. For some strange reason both Tsunade and Jiraiya worked together flawlessly with Naruto rather than Arachimaru, even though they had only known Naruto for about a year. On the other hand, from the moment Team Sarutobi had been formed, Arachimaru had been labeled the prodigy. That revelation tended to inflate his ego at times, and make him difficult to work with. With the addition of Naruto to the team, Arachimaru had become the fourth wheel, so to speak. It was a startling revelation on Tsunade's part, when she resolved to work on fixing, as soon as possible. That is, if we ever make it out of here, thought Swan to herself, as both she and Arachimaru picked themselves off the ground. So this is all the prize team of the Sandaime Hokage is capable of. What a disappointment. Well, what did you expect from two brats and a girl? Taunted the two Tsunade Genin. Tsunade clenched her fists in anger. She hated this, being looked down on for being a kunoichi. Unfortunately, it was a common attitude that man made better shinobi, one that she desperately wanted to change. Got any ideas, Arachimaru? She asked her teammate. Meanwhile, Genin was in the process of coming up with a strategy by going over what their opponents had displayed so far. Both nin made their country of origin proud by being adept at Futon and wind. But one was also good at enabling him to use from a distance as support, while his teammate attacked from mid to close range with ninjutsu and taijutsu. Ideally, if either himself or Tsunade could engage the shinobi talented in a close range, he would be unable to support his teammate. But unfortunately, areas affecting Futon techniques were good for keeping people at a distance. Suddenly, a plan began to form. Tsunade, I need you to disable the nin casting the support ninjutsu, said Arachimaru, as he motioned to the Tsunanin farthest from them. I'll give you an opportunity to get close, just make sure you get it done. Sounds good to me, I take it you'll handle the other one. To this question Arachimaru merely nodded, and started to form seals before shouting out. Futon. DAITOPPA wind, release. Great breakthrough. The massive burst of wind that shot forth was easily avoided, since the Tsunade Genin recognized the technique and moved just in time. But it also kicked up quite a bit of dust, providing Tsunade and Arachimaru excellent cover to sneak up on their opponents, effectively cutting them off from each other. As is common with users, Taijutsu is frequently their weak point, which was unfortunate for the Tsunade Genin currently facing Tsunade. Not only was she exceptionally gifted in Taijutsu, she was a lot stronger than she looked. And she was systematically beating the crap out of him. In a desperation move, he attempted to create some distance between the two of them, so he could hide under a suddenly Tsunade seemed to just appear behind him and sent him crashing to the ground due to a swift chop to the back of the neck. When he tried to stand, the Tsunanin discovered that his body did not seem to want to respond the way he was telling it to. "What the hell did you do to me?" he asked Tsunade in a tone that was a combination of anger and fear. "You have become the first proud success of my first original technique RANSHINSHO chaotic mental collision. I converted my chakra to electricity and used it to disrupt your nervous system. You won't be able to move properly for hours," stated Tsunade with a barely concealed hint of pride. Tsunade then moved to restrain her downed opponent, but as she drew out ninja wire to bind his arms and legs, the Tsunade Genin decided to be a sore loser. "Undo whatever it is you just did to me, you stupid flat-chested bitch." The minute the words left his mouth, he felt a malevolent aura descend upon him that made it difficult to breathe. He had never felt anything so terrifying in his entire life. As he looked up to see Tsunade's eyes, he thought that maybe he had made a mistake. Meanwhile, Arachimaru was just about to finish his opponent when the bound form of the Tsunanin Tsunade had been fighting, flew through the air, and landed at his feet. The nin had 2 black eyes, a broken nose, and was missing a large number of teeth. Must have said something to upset her like that idiot Jiraiya usually does, Mr. Arachimaru to himself. The sight of the beaten form of his teammate caused the last Tsunanin to take his eyes off of Arachimaru for a moment. But that was all that he needed. He soon found himself bound by Arachimaru's arms, even though the rest of him was a good 8 feet away. "Looks like you're done too, Arachimaru," came the voice of Tsunade from behind him. "Knock him out so we can find Jiraiya and get moving." At this, a sinister grin formed on the face of Arachimaru before he answered, not before he was taught a lesson. Suddenly Arachimaru extended his head and neck over to his opponent and bit down between his neck and shoulder. Tsunanin screamed in agony before he dropped like a puppet, with his strings caught before succumbing to unconsciousness. "What the hell was that? All you needed to do was knock him unconscious?" asked an irate Tsunade. "Nothing much, just a variant of Doku Kiri poison mist technique that I've been working on for a while now," stated Arachimaru, as if he didn't have a care in the world. "You poisoned him like a snake would," came the voice of Jiraiya, as he dropped in from the trees above. "That freaky neck-stretching thing was just plain disgusting." "Let's get moving," said Arachimaru before he took off into the treetops. His teammates took one last look at Arachimaru's poisoned opponent before following suit. Meanwhile, Naruto was making far more progress getting out of the mountain range he was on. The end of the range was in sight, a few more hours, and he would be on flat, solid ground. "Although getting out of this mountain range will end up taking a bit longer than I had thought, I'm going to have to pick up the pace if I want to find everyone and complete this exam," thought the blonde to himself. "Stupid future memory of Jiraiya pushing me off the edge of a cliff," grumbled Naruto. Unfortunately, the rocks Naruto had just landed on were unstable and gave way the minute he landed upon them, revealing the hole they had been covering. As it caught him by surprise, Naruto was unable to stop himself from falling in. Luckily, the drop was not steep enough to cause any serious injury or to knock him unconscious. It was simply rather painful. Somehow the hole he had fallen into had managed to cover itself with rocks again, leaving him trapped. "Great, now what the hell am I supposed to do?" said Naruto, as he picked himself up from the floor and noticed he could not climb out the same way he fell in. Strangely enough, there were torches in the cavern that sprang to life at that exact moment, and, as Naruto looked around trying to figure out where the torches came from, he noticed what looked to be a cave entrance. With nowhere else to go, he decided to see where the cave led. The cave entrance led to a path that only went straight forward. As he walked through the cave, the torches dimmed. They never went out. But the light level reminded Naruto of the hallway he always went down in his mindscape to get where the Kyuubi was caged. Nearing the end of the hallway, the lights continued to dim even further, and before he was once again in darkness, the former could make out he was about to step into another large cave. As he did so, he could immediately tell that he was not alone. But he could also tell that whatever else was in here was not threatening. He got the impression he was being watched, or rather evaluated. As he wondered what could possibly be alive down here, a voice spoke out, "Welcome, he who once contained the Kyuubi." Before Naruto could wonder how whatever was here in this cave knew that, torches once again seemed to light on their own. And Naruto found himself staring up at something that he had thought could not possibly exist. Naruto found himself staring up at a dragon. "Welcome, young one," spoke the dragon in a wise tone. "You are to become our summoner." The end. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic. Link is in the description. See you next time. Till then, sayonara.